Welcome back to Growth Catalyst. We focus on three things in our channel. One, the skills you need. Two, the productivity you need. Three, the way to turbocharge your career with both of this. In today's episode, we are going to look at the 20 questions which you need to ask yourself to turbocharge your career. Today, we are not going to dive into the strategy. We are not going to dive into productivity. We are not going to dive into skills. We are going to dive into yourself. We're going to look at what are the questions you need to ask, what are the things that you need to think about, what are the things that you need to be prepared for so that you can move up in your career in no time at all. These are questions which reflect deep reflection. So take a pen, take a notebook, or even better, open a Notion page. You will be answering a lot of questions, but at the end of these answering, you will have enormous clarity. I promise you that. Let's dive in. Today's session is divided into three parts. One, what really drives you? Two, what are the career opportunities that you are actually missing to spot? Three, and therefore, now that you know what drives you and what career opportunities are out there, how to make practical decisions so that you move on to grabbing those opportunities. Let's start with the first part, which is all about you, what really drives you. We're starting in the first part, which is all about diving deep into you and understanding everything about you. Because if you don't know what drives you, it's very, very difficult to figure out what exactly you want. It is called finding your North Star. I had a friend, let's call him Sandeep. We were conversing, we were having a good conversation on where he wants to go, and I was helping him find it out. And I was asking a simple question. So, Sandeep, tell me, 5 years down the line, what do you want to be? He said, I'm in middle management. I want to be in top management. I want to be a VP. Okay, very good. Which industry? Same industry, some other industry? Not very sure. Okay, what kind of a role? You are playing a VP. You are VP sales now. Would you switch back? Would you like to switch into marketing? Would you continue to be in sales? Because top management needs a well-rounded understanding, not just sales. He was not sure. I was asking him, okay, would you want to be on your own now that you have enormous sales experience? You are not very sure. So if you are not very sure, it is very, very difficult to drive yourself. Very, very difficult to spot those opportunities which are out there. So my suggestion is very simple. Grab a paper, pen, sit down and tell me and fill up this one line. 5 years down the line, I want to be in dash industry. Fill up which industry you want to be in. You may be continuing with the current industry. You may want to switch industries. If you want to switch industries, which industry and why? You need to think deeply about it. But for now, let's start with this. In 5 years from now, I want to be in dash industry, doing dash role, having dash title, having dash kind of a lifestyle by earning dash amount per annum gross salary. Fill up all of this. Figuring out this, visualizing this actually helps you figure out, okay, which opportunity you should take, and even more important, which opportunities you should not touch. Life and choices are all about as much as choosing something, and at the same time, choosing something means you are going to give up many, many other things which are not worthy of you. Do you know that? That's what this question drives you to find out. So grab a pen, note down all of these points that I talked about, which are also seen on the screen. Note down, think deeply about it. It will help you figure out what really drives you. Issue number two that you need to deeply think about is what really motivates you. I had a friend, let's call him Sandeep again. Don't want friend's identity to be revealed. He was doing very well in his company, but felt extremely burnt out because it was very predictable job. He was having very, very solid credentials to him. He was performing well, but it was a very good industry, very predictable job. Not much of a challenges came his way, and he felt very tied down, very burnt out. Why? Because he was craving challenges. He was a person who went after challenges. He wanted variety in his life. He wanted to do different things. More than anything else, He wanted to face many challenges and prove himself. Now, think deeply about yourself. What kind of a person are you? Are you somebody who's driven by fame, driven by position, driven by money, driven by challenges, or driven by predictability? A lot of people want predictable 9 to 6 job. Nothing wrong in any of this. You need to know what works for you. That's all that I'm talking about. There are many friends of mine who are very, very happy with their very predictable jobs, though predictability is slowly going out of the window these days. So think deeply about it, figure out what exactly you want. How to figure out is one simple method I would suggest to my friends, which is what I call as a peak moment understanding. Think deeply about last year, last 1 year, what kind of work gave you the maximum thrills? What kind of moment? Think about that moment where you had highest satisfaction, where you were exhilarated with whatever you were doing. What were you doing? What kind of challenges you were solving? What kind of work were you delivering? Think about it. And if that gave you that exhilaration, if that gave you that fantastic satisfaction, probably that kind of work is what you want to do repeatedly, day after day after day. Think about what kind of a work in terms of predictable versus variety versus challenging. What kind of work in terms of, are you getting a promotion? Were you getting applause in the middle of a room where everybody was standing around you? So thinking lot deeply about some of these questions would tell you what kind of moments, what kind of things that you really crave for while delivering that work. And you need to get into that kind of work when you seek that opportunity. This will also help you to filter out everything else which is not fitting this description. So go find out. Point three that you need to dwell deeply about is what kind of skills, which skills do I want to develop this year? Career growth is not just promotions. Career growth is directly proportional to the skill growth. The skill growth brings about promotions in your life. So you need to think deeply about which skills you need to acquire. These skills have to be aligned with your long-term vision. That is why we need to start with a 5-year understanding of where you want to be. But once aligned, you need to pick up these skills very, very fast. You need to be master of some of the skills. You need to be knowing very deeply about some of the skills, but some of the other skills you need to be very, very familiar with because what is called as a T-shaped career model. You need to be very, very deeply expert in some of things, and some of the other things you need to have good familiarity, good mastery levels, if not deep mastery. But what are those skills? You need to pick one, at least one hard skill, which is very well aligned with your work, the kind of role that you are playing, the kind of industry you are in. You need to pick at least one soft skill that you need to master on. It could be communication, it could be working with people, it could be team working, it could be negotiation. And you need to pick one top management skill. It could be strategy, it could be the presence that you have in your room, it could be any of those excellence related things that top management requires. But my suggestion would be pick up one hard skill, one soft skill, one top management skills, and work deeply on each of these. Have a calendar, have a cadence so that you definitely work on, definitely polish yourself and be ready for that 5 year down the line, wherever you want to be. Number four, I would suggest that you think about what are my current skills, and out of these current skills, which ones are really marketable? It's a very important question. You may have many skills, but some of those skills only marketable, some of those skills may not necessarily be very marketable because they are in abundance. Hardworking is not a skill. Hardworking is a requirement. So you need to also think about which ones you describe about yourself are really skills. So list down your skills, hard skills, soft skills. Rate yourself as to how good you are as you think. Get feedback from your friends on how good you are as they see you as required by the role. And then think deeply about which of these hard skills and soft skills are really marketable. How do you find out? Just Google jobs. Look at what kind of jobs are requiring your skills. Look at what kind of jobs are going around in demand and which also require your skills. Where are the overlaps? And the second method is to look at people whom you admire, people who are in the kind of role that you want to play 5 years down the line. What skills are they displaying? How are they describing themselves in LinkedIn? Find it out. That would give you a lovely clue into which skills you have to develop in 5 years from now so that you can play those roles. This is number five in terms of thinking about yourself. What are your strongest strengths? And are you bringing that asset on your job? Consistent basis. A lot of times we are not playing to our strengths. A lot of times we just try to cover up our weaknesses, which is such a waste of time. Most of the times, if you play to your strengths, you would be a far better performer compared to if you are trying to cover up for your weakness. So ask yourself what your strengths are. One of the people that I know, she was a fantastic storyteller, but she was burdened and was doing a data analyst job where she was applying statistics, applying data science to cull out stories. But her job ended with culling out stories. Somebody else was doing the storytelling. And she was not very happy with that, her job. She was not very good at culling out the data insights anyway. But the moment she realized, in conversation with her boss, saying that whenever she has done the storytelling in those few opportunities, she has excelled. But doing this job of culling out is not her forte. When she realized that, along with her boss telling her, giving her feedback, and she switched job to a presenting role, storytelling role, rather than culling out the data role, she started flourishing in her career. The point is, do you know your strengths? And more importantly, are you playing to your strengths? Which is very, very important to do. So go figure out, find out your strengths, ask for feedback from your friends, from your boss, from people in the organization who have observed you over a period of time. You will get to know what your strengths are, and you will also need to plot and find out whether you are actually bringing those strengths day after day to your table for consistent performance. If you're not doing it, you need to start doing that. Question number six. How is my current job helping me to hone my skills, learn new skills. If you're not, if your job is not stretching you, then it probably is stalling you. So you need to figure out quickly. Have you learned any new skill in the last 6 months? Have you done any new part of the job in the last 3 months? Have you thought differently about your job, differently about delivering it in the last 1 month? These are things that you need to think about very, very quickly. And if you think that you are not learning, if you are not polishing your skills, if you're not discovering different dimensions by which you can deliver your job, if you're not figuring out new skills along the way, probably you are stalling, probably you need to get out. Figure out very, very fast. Question number 7, the last one in terms of understanding deeply about yourself is simple question of if you were to continue in your current trajectory for let's say 2 more years, you know where you want to go in 5 years, but suppose you are to continue in the same trajectory, same kind of work, same kind of delivery, same kind of role for 2 more years, how happy would you be? A lot of times it shakes people, it startles people when they ask this question themselves. It tells them that they are not happy. Very, very few times I've seen people asking this question and figuring out, yes, this is the trajectory they want to go, which is extremely good place to be in. But many times I've seen people saying that, no, I realize that I'm not happy. I'm just pretending to be happy. I'm just running very fast to stay on the same place. So go ask yourself, how happy are you now? And how happy will you be if you were to do the same kind of role, same kind of things, maybe with small promotions, incremental promotions, but for next 2 years? And if the answer is no, you will not be happy, then you need to figure out what else you want to do, what other skills you want to do, what other kind of roles you want to do, either inside your organization or outside your current organization. We have completed part one, where we dived very deeply into yourself. Where do you want to be? What skills you need to acquire very, very quickly? What kind of strengths you display and display consistently in your job? And what kind of job you are doing? And if you were to continue in the same trajectory, will you be happy? We asked 7 questions and you need to find answers for yourself. But this foundation will move on to part number 2. See you there in part 2.